Welcome to my grunge tutorial thing. I use this to make basically all my SIGs. You start off, make a new one, 310 by 105 or whatever you want, just something around there. And you have to have a fairly colorful render for this to work well, so just get something sort of colorful. And move it around a whole bunch, just kind of spread it out along the layer, or the palette, or whatever you want to call it. Just till you get something good. Try to stay away from using the face, especially if you have someone with skin. Like this Metroid Prime one, it's okay, but a render with skin probably won't work that well. Once you have them all duplicated and put together and stuff, then you can move layers around, and if you don't like a part of it, you can erase it. But be careful what you erase, and if you erase something wrong, just Control-Z, and it'll get rid of it. And be sure there are no white spots showing, because that seriously will screw up most of the SIG. Once you're done, merge them all together and then duplicate it with Control-J. Go Filter, Distort, Wave, and do the wraparound option. That's not required, but I usually do it. Then randomize it until you find something you like. And then you're going to set it to color dodge. Or just mess around with it until you find something you like. And it can be bright. Don't worry about something being too bright. We'll darken it up later. Just a bit of advice, I'd go over bright than not bright enough. Then you can mess with the opacity just to bring it down a little bit. And erase parts that you don't like, just stuff that's too bright. Like, I didn't like that blue, so I got rid of that. Now grab your render again and pull it in and just resize it to something that you like. And position it where you want it to be. Then duplicate it 4 times, so there's a total of 5. And make them all invisible. So on the bottom render, you have Filter, Blur, Motion Blur, about 160, somewhere around there. Then set it to color burn, or something just to kind of burn away, like make it all black looking. Then the next one, go Filter, Blur, Motion Blur, about 80, maybe a little less, doesn't matter. And set it to saturation or hue. I stuck with saturation just because it looked better. On the next layer, you're going to go Filter, Blur, Radial Blur, 100, Zoom, and Best Quality. Then just play around with it. And then I sharpened it just to make it look, a little bit sharper and nicer, I think. Okay, now time for some smudging. I use the single bladed grass just because it'll make it sharp looking. Because the goal for this SIG is to make it look pretty sharp and colorful. I bring the scattering down to about 3 and then just raise the other one up a little bit. And then scatter away from the body. And if you have one with a face, try to stay away from smudging the face. Once you're done smudging, then go, you can sharpen it. I always sharpen it just to make it look a little bit better. So filter and sharpen. You can do sharpen edges if you want it even sharper too. Then bring out the final render that you're going to leave alone, and then you can move around things underneath of it and position the smudges better. Another thing you can do is move the radial blur. Sometimes if you want it to show up a little better, you can make it bigger. And then once you're done smudging, go to the top layer and create a new gradient map. Do black and white, and then set it to soft light. You can mess with or it can be overlay, soft light, or hard light, doesn't matter. I usually stay with soft light, and then you can mess with the opacity if you want, and don't worry if it's dark, because we'll lighten it all up later. Next, this is optional, but you can do a level, just to change parts of it. I didn't in this one, just because I like the look right now. Then you can also do a hue saturation. That's also optional. I brought the hue up just a tiny bit, or the saturation, because I like colorful SIGs, just because I do. Next, you're going to do some grunge brushing just to make it look a little grungier looking, I guess. So just pick your favorite grunge brush and go with a black, and try to stay away from the face, and then just smudge on the background, the body, pretty much everywhere except for the face, but don't go too dark. There, I messed up. I went over his face too dark. Then once you're done with that, you can put it to overlay, soft light, hard light, or normal, just depending on what you want it to look like. Then between the radial blur and the smudge, I think, you can do a little bit of white just to brighten it up a little bit. And sometimes you can pull it above and then set it to soft light, and it'll help make it a little brighter. And this part is completely optional depending on what you like. You can duplicate the render and then move it to somewhere where you don't like the background or something like that, and then smudge it, and then sharpen it, and then move it around somewhere. And be sure it's down in your background layers. Normally after this step I'd add text, but I'm horrible at text, so I'm not going to try and teach you how to do it. But now you create a new layer, and then select a bright color from your SIG. I'm going to go with that kind of orange-yellow looking. And then Control-A, select all. And then stroke, 1 pixel on the inside. And then you can just mess around with it, just something where it kind of looks like a little cracked, kind of. I usually do color dodge, but in this one didn't turn out too great, so I'm going to do whatever that says. I can't read it. Then just erase parts of it with a soft brush, just kind of make it look a little like more spread out. And that's my SIG. Thanks for working on it. I hope